Okay, so Bryan, on the other side, Showtime has said this in their statement. The press has been sent copies of an alleged complaint, yet to our knowledge, Showtime has not been served. With that said, we do not comment on pending litigation. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, Shannon, Bob, I think the big story being missed here, why was this not in the Kavanaugh hearings? Why did we not have a Borat moment instead of a Spartacus moment?
You know what?
I mean,
it
seriously.
Felt like there were a lot of moments there. There were a lot of protesters, some people in costumes. It was a rather entertaining. Yeah, but as far as I know, Sacha Baron Cohen didn't turn up at the hearing, Bryan.
It could have taken a different direction. But let me tell you this. Now, let's face it. I've got, just like your Seminoles, Shannon, sorry, but I've got two 15-yard penalties here. I've got Roy Moore.
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah, well, not a good defendant. We all know as lawyers, the party you're representing, that's tough. I got a tough card there. Second, it's, as Bob said, I'm dealing with defamation, which for a public figure like Roy Moore, that's the Mount Everest you got to climb, because you got to find out that Mr. Cohen acted with actual malice or intent. I'm actually going to go where Bob didn't want to go, which is the contract. And it's interesting because Cohen's had to deal with this before. He's been sued in Borat for his movie Bruno. And in the Bruno movie, what they sued over was the standard location agreement that these folks sign. And it's very likely that Mr. Moore had signed a document saying, basically, I'm waiving all of my rights to whatever this is. I do think that's fraud. My view, Shannon, is, you sign up to go on the teacups. You think it's going to be the teacups. It better not turn into Space Mountain.
I mean, yes, I love both of those rides, by the way.
Bryan, are we supposed to believe that every conversation now that Donald Trump has had with his attorney is somehow part of what the special counsel gets to look at? Isn't there some sort of limitation? Because that attorney-client privilege isn't just waived on all of these issues, correct?
Yeah, Jason. I mean, look, for your audience, anyone who heard this allocution that Michael Cohen gave yesterday, and an allocution might sound like something from The Sopranos. I'm Italian-American, and we the folks would get up in front of the court and they would attest that there was this thing called the mafia in the United States. I'm not sure if the president shouldn't nickname Michael Cohen either Better Not Call Saul or Captain Obvious. I mean, that's pretty obvious what he got up and said yesterday, which is that the president, there were women that he was having relationships with outside of his marriage, and that he thought that might impact his view on the folks' view on the election. To me, there was nothing criminal about that. And getting to your question, as a lawyer, the attorney-client privilege is the one sacred thing we have. Lawyers have terrible reputations, and I think Kendall would even agree. Unfortunately, we have it for a reason a lot of times. And it looks like to me that Donald Trump has found himself in the Jurassic Park of lawyers. I mean, I'm waiting for the next Raptor lawyer to come out of this thing between Lanny Davis, and I was listening to your last segment, who, the stuff that he did back in the 90s to some of the things that we're seeing now with Cohen. And then also, let's not forget that Jim Comey is an attorney. And you know very well, Jason, look what that attorney did in his findings back on July 5th of 2016, when he found that Hillary Clinton was, quote unquote, extremely careless with her emails.
Yeah.
Oh, which, by the way, was a standard changed by our favorite FBI
believe me, there's a whole
Schrock.
other set of subjects we could talk about there.
Bryan, bringing you in here, Leon Panetta also argued that the general tactic of trying to undermine the special counsel in general, that could actually backfire.
Respect to Jesse, tell you, I think we're going to see Halloween costumes as we've just moved into September that are witches and hunting gear. We've heard witch hunt so much. I think they're going to be teaching witch hunt as a legal term in law schools. I've never heard it this much in public discourse. Let me tell you something. A witch hunt is not obstruction of justice. It's not. You know how we know that? In Bill Clinton, when we dealt with this with Whitewater and Monica Lewinsky, he actually said that he thought that was a witch hunt by, remember the vast right-wing conspiracy that Hillary Clinton mentioned?
Yeah.
Right, to get him for a regime change, that's what he said, and that the GOP was all in and they were going to go at all costs to do it. Well, what happened? We got an impeachment, and the Senate, rightfully, with the Supreme Court's presiding, ended up saying there was no conviction, there was a censure, and Bill Clinton left office more popular than he was the day he went in. I think that's the same thing that's going to happen here. When you say obstruction, I'm not going to call it a slam dunk like Jesse did. I'm going to call it an unassisted triple play in baseball. That's the high standard a president needs to
meet in an unfortunate way for it to be an actual obstruction of justice. Do you know what the number one thing that Obamacare did that's disgusting in my mind? It expanded Medicaid to what I call deadbeat dudes. For the first time, Medicaid, I have a sister-in-law who passed away 2 years ago of Down syndrome. Medicaid was supposed to be for individuals with Down syndrome, with autism, the most impoverished among us. No, Obamacare expanded it to able-bodied, single men, most of them under 35, making less than $16,000 a year. What do I know working in the industry? Tons of costs for Hep C drugs, tons of costs for opiates.
Bryan Rotella, he's on the phone. He's an attorney and founder and CEO of a law firm dedicated to representing healthcare businesses and providers. We've been talking to you for the last hour now. What's kind of like your final word on this as you look at what happened here with the vote? What do you make of it for healthcare businesses, providers, and American people?
Well, Jackie, in your last segment, you asked a question about what your child's going to read about, what this all meant, what this Obamacare debate meant. I think what the history books are going to say is those of us who remember back when 2008, when John Edwards was running on the Two Americas, I can tell you out in America right now, out in the industry, you go to a pain management clinic in the I-4 corridor of Florida where I'm based, or Buffalo, New York, where I'm originally from, those pain management clinics that take Medicaid, they look different, they feel different. They're something that I don't think a lot of Americans actually want to be in.